Is anything sticking out that doesn't look good on the hat? Good. Can you see my face?
Let's see. Yes, I can see your face.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like
All
we're
right.
rolling here.
All right. Ready to go?
I think we are. So, Aric, this is Aric again, and this is what is this? This is Legends, and
Legends, licks, and lore.
that's right, Bluegrass Legends, Looks, and Lore. Just testing you. All right. So, carry on. You were going to tell us something about
Okay. Well,
the divine origins of
divine
bluegrass.
origins of bluegrass. I do believe that bluegrass is God's music. I believe that classical music, and especially Baroque, and the music of Bach, is definitely divinely inspired, which to me makes it God's music. I think that Bach and bluegrass have a lot in common, believe it or not, and I plan to write a book on that one day, just called Bach and Bluegrass. Well, part of that's my own classical upbringing. When I was a child, I was classically trained in musical theory and classical piano, and how I ended up becoming a bluegrass banjo picker and a bluegrass vocalist is anybody's guess, but I was captivated by bluegrass when I was exposed to it. But I grew up with folk music as well, so I have a lot of folk um, in my early life as well, so that's a big part of me as well. Anyway, to get back to bluegrass being God's music, I can offer an analogy of, of, of the construct and setup of a standard bluegrass band with the design of the human soul, the way God Himself designed the human soul when He created man. And I don't know if anybody has ever probed this as I have, but I see a definite correlation. Now, I'm a very serious student of the Word of God, and I majored in Bible 1 year actually away at a Bible college, but I didn't learn this there. I worked it out from my own private study of Bible doctrine, and if you look at the intrinsic construct of a bluegrass band, it's banjo, mandolin, guitar, fiddle, and string bass. Some bluegrass bands use an instrument that's called a dobro. Most don't. A few do. Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs used a dobro, and a very Josh Graves was their dobro player, and a very accomplished dobro player at that. And a typical bluegrass band is banjo, guitar, mandolin and fiddle, and string bass, all acoustic. In the human soul, what does the human soul consist of? Well, it's invisible. You wouldn't be able to take out the human soul and dissect it and feel material. You wouldn't be able to do that. It's invisible, but it's there. And what the human soul is composed of is basically the mind, the heart, the free will, and the emotions. Well, there's self-consciousness there also. Without that, you don't even know who you are. So, my take on this is that the main thing that drives the human soul is the mentality of the soul, and that's the banjo in a bluegrass band. The drive is the banjo. Without the banjo, you really don't have bluegrass. Even though the original bluegrass band was without a banjo.
Invented by a mandolin player.
We covered that. Yeah, we covered that earlier. The banjo was the last instrument to be added.
And who was that again?
Earl Scruggs.
No, who's the inventor of?
Oh, Bill Monroe.
Bill Monroe.
Bill Monroe. Yes, Big Mon. Okay. So the banjo characterizes the pretty much the mentality of bluegrass. The guitar is the heart, and because in the heart lobe, in the human soul, you have what's called norms and standards. And I could go into greater detail than that. I don't want to get too off the subject. You got your memory center, you got your frame of reference, you got your vocabulary, you got your categories. All those are contained within the heart lobe. And by the way, this is all substantiated in the scriptures in the original Hebrew and Greek languages. You don't really get it fully in the English. But the norms and standards that are in the heart lobe, characterized by the guitar. The guitar is more or less your rock. So the banjo and guitar blended together, that's the mind and the heart of bluegrass. I wish I had my guitar here. It's locked up in storage right now and very deep in there, and I don't know if I could ever get it out for this session. Maybe borrow another guitar, but you got your little riffs in a guitar, and Lester Flatt contributed a lot to that, where you go dun 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 dun. You got your basic lower notes that you're hitting on the bass, the more bass strings that carry the sound of bluegrass, and just put it together with the banjo. It's just an unbeatable combination. The fiddle.
There we go. A little noise.
There you
do it here.
Okay.
Here we go.
The fiddle is the emotions of the bluegrass sound. The fiddle carries the emotions more than any other instrument. The fiddle can laugh. The fiddle can cry. And the emotions are not part of the mentality of the soul. The emotions are actually a responder to information. Anyway, so that's the fiddle. The mandolin characterizes the volition of the soul, the free will, which can go either way. It can go yay or nay. The mandolin, even though the mandolin is a very, very key instrument in bluegrass, when you hear that chomping of the mandolin, the vamp, they call it the vamp. It very much, to me, represents the volitional pace that the direction of the music is going. The mandolin also plays leads. It trades leads and licks with the banjo and the fiddle. The banjo and the fiddle and the mandolin are basically the lead instruments, and those instruments dance around the more standard setup of the guitar. Then you got your string bass, which just adds more bottom to the whole thing. It gives it more depth.
Hey, can we grab one of these chairs?
But you have the same thing in Baroque music as well. You have your firm foundation around which the melody, there's always something happening with the melody, just like in bluegrass, and it moves around the standard rock, which is which is very, very solid. So, a little bit of analysis there.
Is that are you talking about the tonality? That rock that you're talking about, is that the tonality that is carried in the bagpipe as well? Is that
Yeah.
That tonality.
Yeah, it's in the, oh yeah, the well, you have that, but you have it even in the lead stuff that you're playing in the banjo. That puts more of that. Every time I do what's called a pinch, this is a pinch. That's called a pinch. But you can pinch on any of the. You can go on the first and third. You can go on the first and fifth. In fact, when Earl Scruggs plays Foggy Mountain Breakdown, he does something on his original recording. It sounds almost like he's playing one note. Kind of hits that. I think he's doing a pinch. It's so staccato the way he does it, but then he kicks right into it. It's just amazing how he does that and how it sets the whole pace, the whole tone, the whole emotion of it. It just grabs you.
So you're saying the mandolin then carries that tonality?
Well, the mandolin is a big part of that. I was just saying right there on the banjo. Earl Scruggs does that on the banjo before he kicks into the breakdown of Foggy Mountain Breakdown. He doesn't even hold it.
Right.
On the second recording, when he re-recorded it in the 60s, he goes out and he holds it, and then he goes in it. But in the original 1950 recording, he tears into it, which is just so phenomenal the way he does that. I would also like to discuss a little bit some of the origin of bluegrass. The banjo is a very American instrument, but it has roots in Africa. And it's generally believed that the word banjo came from a Kimbundu term in Africa that was called Mbanza, M-B-A-N-Z-A, and that the banjo was brought over from Africa and ended up in the Caribbean, and then eventually the hills of Appalachia and the Ozarks. And that was in the 17th century. The dulcimer, which normally you don't have a dulcimer in a bluegrass band. The dulcimer is more of a Scots-Irish instrument that became an Appalachian instrument. They call it the Appalachian dulcimer. There are several instruments that could be traced from Europe. Of course, eventually the bagpipe, which originally emanated out of Egypt, believe it or not, and that happened basically in the 19th century. What became the Appalachian Mountain Dulcimer. That can't be proved. It's been said that it has links to several other instruments in Europe. I'd want to do more research on that and see how close those other instruments are to the dulcimer. You have the dulcimer mentioned in the Book of Psalms. No, is it in the? No, it's in the Book of Daniel. I beg your pardon. It's in the Book of Daniel. Hi, Daniel. But in the original Hebrew, it doesn't say dulcimer. It says dulcimer in the King James Version, but it says bagpipe in the original Hebrew. Well, we know that the dulcimer is very much related to the bagpipe because a dulcimer is really a bagpipe with strings. So that's the influence there. In the dulcimer, you really hear the bagpipe when you strum an open chord. If you're in the Mixolydian tuning, I don't have a dulcimer here either where I can show you that. A dulcimer, I play bluegrass on the dulcimer because I'm a bluegrass musician. But primarily the dulcimer is more for old-timey mountain traditional music and American folk. Normally not played bluegrass on it, certainly not in a bluegrass band, but on one of my CDs, I'm playing bluegrass on the dulcimer. So in all this, what can we sum up about bluegrass music and its purpose? I think that Lester Flatt summed it up beautifully when he said regarding his band, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and the Foggy Mountain Boys, our songs tell a story about this earth and its folk. I think that says it better than anything that I could say in any of these interviews. So I will quote what Lester and Earl had to say about their music. Our songs tell a story about this earth and its folk. It's about people and places. And a lot of ideas. Because life is really a battle of ideas. And a lot of that, it's just, so much of it is crowded in the bluegrass that some of the biggest volumes written on bluegrass couldn't get enough of it in. That's how much is there. And of course we don't overlook the hymns from the hills and how the bluegrass gospel, the gospel according to bluegrass, tells the gospel story very, very thoroughly as well. So with that, I've done a lot of talking on this interview. Should I play a song?
Yeah.
Carry us out with?
Yes, carry us out with I guess a gospel song in this case, right?
Yeah, well, we could do that. How about one that kind of gives a little hope for the future? One that everyone knows, as traditional as they come. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Thank you.